Just before we end the night, I'd like to call on Richard Broinowski AM, former Australian public servant and diplomat, to officially close the evening. And that's good night and thank you from me.
So I start my brief remarks with a question to Tracy Holmes. Where is she? Tracy, 33 years ago, I was ambassador in Korea when we had the 1988 Seoul Olympics. You must have been there. You weren't. I actually think you weren't, because you're far too young to have been there at that stage. When we had Graham Richardson, Richo, with his mate Rene Rivkin as a sports minister. I can tell you lots of stories, but I won't. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been an Australian diplomat for 34 years. I've served this country in 16 countries. And I have to say that when I look back on them and what's happened now, not much has changed. Some have gone for the worse, like Burma. Some are holding on to ideals and visions they had, like Iran, despite a lot of pressure. Some have improved a great deal. I think Japan has come out of its post-war inferiority complex into what I regard as a wonderful country and a great friend of Australia. Mexico, sunk in COVID-19 problems. The Philippines, just the same. Duterte, I think, is very much like President Marcos. He's got the same irascibility and sense of humour. Not very respectful. Anyway, having said that, I want to say that I look at this organisation, which Ahmed has done so much to bring up, as a wonderful gift. And I like to think, and I think I do think, that there are similar organisations in many other countries, not all the countries I've been in, but many of them where we have this kind of thing. We look at ourselves all the time. I think there's a certain smugness about the way Australian politicians, especially in Canberra, regard this as the most multicultural, successful multicultural country in the world. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. I can think of other countries that can parallel us very well. But I don't think we should talk about it, because we have a lot of problems here, including particularly with our Indigenous population, and we've got a long way to go. Also, do you remember that recently a group of educators came out with a new curriculum for secondary schools in Australia, in which Indigenous history is going to be compulsory in schools? And we have the inevitable critics of that, including the historian Geoffrey Blainey in The Australian, saying that this isn't a very good idea. Well, I think it is a good idea, but the right-wing press in this country will poo-poo it, whatever we say. Anyway, just to finish the evening, it's been a delight. This is about the third or fourth that Alison and I have attended. Ahmed, you're a wonderful man. He's put me in my chronological place by insisting that I'm his uncle, not his cousin. Well, that's all right. I'm your uncle. Therefore, I can condescend to you to some extent. But Ahmed's got a wonderful puckish sense of humour. He's full of drive and initiative. He almost falls over himself in ringing. As Tracy said, she's had about 40 calls since she was asked to be the guest speaker. I've had nearly that many myself. And I have a privilege of being able to suggest to Ahmed speakers among my mob who would come and talk and be part of and have the same philosophical views as Affinity. Bob Carr is one of them. The last point I'd make is that I wish this Sydney bubble would be open to more federal politicians. We need them here. We have a dysfunctional atmosphere in Parliament House in Canberra. There's a degree of arrogance. And there's also a degree of a lack of understanding of international relations. I think the drums of war that senior public servants are talking about with regard to China are absolutely inappropriate. And a number of my colleagues and I, retired diplomats, would love to get back to Canberra and talk sense into the people who are saying that China is an ineluctable enemy. It is not and should not be, and we have a responsibility to do something about it. So Ahmed, once again, thanks. On a lighter note, I've enjoyed it tonight immensely. Good luck to you all. I hope to see you all next year. Thank you.